Chapter 13, Organism and Population. Our living world is fascinatingly diverse and amazingly complex. We can try to understand its complexity by investigating processes at various levels of biological organization: micromolecules, cells, tissues, organs, individual organism, population, communities, and ecosystem and biomes. At any level of biological organization, we can ask two types of questions. For example, when we hear the bulbul singing early morning in the garden, we may ask, how does the bird sing? Or why does the bird sing? The how type questions seek the mechanism behind the process, while the why type questions seek the significance of the process. For the first question in our example, the answer might be in terms of operation of the voice box and vibrating bone in the bird, whereas the second question and answer may lie in the bird's need to communicate with its mate during breeding season. When you observe nature around you with a scientific frame of mind, you'll certainly come up with many interesting questions of both types. Why are night blooming flowers generally white? How does the bee know which flowers has nectar? Why does cactus have so many thorns? How does a chick recognize her own mother? And so on. You have already learned in the previous classes that ecology is a subject which studies the interaction among the organism and between the organism and its physical or biotic environment. Ecology is basically concerned with four levels of biological organization: organism, population, community, and biomes. In this chapter, we will explore ecology at organismic and population levels. Organism and its environment. Ecology at organismic level is essentially physiological ecology, which tries to understand how different organisms are adapted to their environment in terms of not only survival but also reproduction. You may have learned it in earlier classes how rotation of our planet around the sun and its tilt of axis cause annual variation in intensity and duration of temperature, resulting in distinct seasons. These variation together in annual variation in precipitation. Remember, precipitation includes both rain and snow, accounts for the formation of major biomes such as desert, rainforest, and tundra. Regional and local variation within each biome lead to the formation of a wide variety of habitats. Major biomes of India are shown in figure 13.2. On planet Earth, life exists not just in few favorable habitats but even in extreme and harsh habitats: scorching Rajasthan desert, rain-soaked Meghalaya forest, deep ocean trenches, torrential streams, permafrost, snow-laden polar regions, high mountain tops, thermal springs, and stinking compost pits. To name a few, even our intestine is a unique habitat for hundreds of species of microbes. What are the key elements that led to so much variation in physical and chemical condition of different habitats? The most important ones are the temperature, water, light, and soil. We must remember that the physiochemical abiotic component alone do not characterize the habitat of an organism completely. The habitat includes biotic component also: pathogens, parasites, predators, and competitors of the organism with which they interact constantly. We assume over the period of time, the organism had, through natural selection, evolved adaptation to optimize its natural and reproduction in its habitat. Each organism has an invariably defined range of conditions that it can tolerate, diversity in the resources it utilizes, and a distinct functional role in ecological system altogether comprises its nature. Major abiotic factors. Temperature. Temperature is the most important ecologically relevant environmental factor. You are aware that the average temperature on the land varies seasonally, decreases progressively from equator to the poles and from the plains to the mountain tops. It ranges from sub-zero levels in polar areas to high altitude to above greater than 5 degrees Celsius in tropical deserts in summer. There are, however, unique habitats such as thermal springs and deep sea hydrothermal vents where average temperature exceeds 100 degrees Celsius. It is general knowledge that mango trees do not and cannot grow in temperate temperature countries like Canada and Germany, Snow leopards are not found in Kerala forest, and tuna fish are rarely caught beyond tropical latitude in the ocean. You can appreciate the significance of temperature in living organism when you realize that it affects the kinetics of enzymes and through it the metabolic activity and other physiological functions of organism. A few organisms can tolerate and thrive in a wide range of temperature. They are called euthermal, but vast majority of them are restricted to a narrow range of temperature. Such organisms are called stenothermal. The level of thermal tolerance of different species determine to a large extent their geographical distribution. Can you think of a few euthermal and stenothermal animals and plants? In recent years, there have been a growing concern about the gradual increasing average global temperature. Chapter 16. If this trend continues, would you expect the distributional range of some species to be affected? Water. Water is another the most important factor influencing the life of organism. In fact, life on earth originated in water and unsustainable without water. Its availability is so limited in deserts that only special adaptation make it possible for organisms to live there. The productivity and distribution of plant is also heavily dependent on water. You might think that organisms living in oceans, lakes, and rivers should not face any water related problems, but it's not true. For aquatic organisms, the quality, chemical composition, pH of water becomes important. The salt concentration measured as salinity per parts per thousand is less than 5 in inland waters, 30 to 35 in sea, and greater than 100 in some hypersaline lagoons. Some organisms are tolerant of a wide range of salinities, that is euryhaline, but others are restricted to a narrow range, that is stenohaline. Many freshwater animals cannot live for a long in seawater and vice versa because of osmotic problems they would face. Light. Since plants produce food through photosynthesis, a process which is only possible when sunlight is available as a source of energy, we can quickly understand the importance of light for living organisms, particularly autotrophs. Many species of small plants, herbs, and shrubs growing in forests are adapted to photosynthesis optimally under a very low light condition because of their constantly overshadowed by tall canopied trees. Many plants are also dependent on sunlight to meet their photoperiodic requirements for flowering. Many animals too. Light is important in that they use diurnal and seasonal variation in light intensity and duration, that is photoperiod, as cues for timing their foraging and reproductive and migrative activities. The availability of light on land is closely linked with the temperature since the sun is a source for both, but deep more than 500 meters in ocean, so environment is dark and inhabitants are not aware of the existence of celestial source of energy called sun. What then is their source of energy? The spectral quality of solar radiation is also important for life. The UV component of spectrum is harmful to many organisms, while not all the color component of visible spectrum are available for marine plants living in different depths of ocean. Among the red, green, and brown algae that inhabit the sea, which is likely to be found in the deepest waters, why? Soil. The nature and properties of soil in different places vary. It depends on the climate and the weathering process, whether soil is transported or sedimentary, and how soil development occurs. Various characteristic of soil such as soil composition, grain size, aggregation determine the percolation and water holding capacity of soil. These characteristics, along with the parameters such as pH, mineral composition, and topography, determine to the large extent the vegetation in any area. This in turn dictates the type of animals that can be supported. Similarly, in the aquatic environment, the sediment characteristic often determine the type of benthic animal that can thrive there.